Hey there, welcome back to our Harkla YouTube channel. We're so happy to have you here with us today. I'm Rachel.
And I'm Jessica. We're the Certified Occupational Therapy Assistants with Harkla. And today we're going to talk about primitive reflex integration with children with motor and cognitive delays. Really quickly, we want to let you know about our Black Friday Cyber Monday sale that starts on November 18th and ends on December 2nd. During this sale, you will save 20% on physical sensory products like the compression swing, the weighted blanket, the body sock, and you can also save 25% on any of our digital courses where you can learn about primitive reflexes, sensory diets, and more. Head to the description below, click on the link, and start shopping.
A common question we get, whether it's a therapist asking us or parents or teachers, anyone, they all ask us this question. Basically, how do I work on primitive reflex integration with a child or with clients who either have cognitive delays or motor delays, and they really aren't able to take an instruction, follow a direction, and complete a movement?
So today we're going to give you 5 tips if you're working with children who have these challenges, or if you're completing an integration program at home and your children are struggling to follow instructions, struggling to complete the specific exercises. We're going to give you 5 tips to help.
Now the key here is to remember that these children most likely will have retained primitive reflexes, and it will probably be difficult to test for these reflexes. You could, if you're, in a clinic setting, if you're an OT, or if you're a CODA and you're working on assessing these, it might take you multiple sessions to really get a good idea of where their reflexes are at. You may not even be able to formally test them. You may have to do a checklist, you may have to do a screener, you may just have to look at their occupational performance to get a good idea of which reflexes are retained and which ones are impacting their ability to function. So keep that in mind, but we are going to try our best to formally test these reflexes. Now, when we are working on an integration plan, the first thing that we want to make sure that we're doing is providing visual demonstrations. We are down on the floor, we are doing the activities together, we are showing them, lift your arms up, hold your legs up, can you fly like Superman? We're doing it in front of a mirror, we are doing a video, we're taking a video and we're showing them. We are down on the floor together. We're not just sitting back and, telling them what to do. We are in it to win it.
Now, some children who maybe have better auditory processing, a little bit better motor planning, can follow those auditory instructions to complete the exercises. So this tip is really for those children who don't have the motor planning abilities, who don't have the auditory processing abilities to understand what you're telling them to do with their body. They need that extra visual of you doing it with them.
Now the second tip that we're going to share with you is you may have to physically move the child through the activities and the exercises. So let's say, for example, we're working on the ATNR, we're doing a lizard crawl. It's number one, it's a difficult move for anyone to do, but for someone who maybe has CP or maybe they're autistic and they're not able to do the activities independently, we're going to help get them into the positions. We're going to physically, obviously kindly and softly move their body through those positions, talking them through it as we're going. But sometimes we do have to physically provide more assistance with these clients in order to get them to move through those activities.
And this is a question that we receive inside of our digital course all the time. Will this be beneficial for my child if I'm doing the movements for them, if I'm moving their arms, if I'm moving their legs, I'm moving their head? And the answer is yes. It's still going to be very beneficial, but the goal here should be you're helping them through the movements and slowly taking away the assistance as they gain more independence with the movements. So as they're doing the exercises every single day, their motor planning is going to improve, they're going to make those neural connections, and you can start to decrease the amount of physical assistance that you're providing.
Exactly. Now the third tip we're going to give you is to really lean into what the child's motivated by. We're going to use their preferred music. Maybe if they have a preferred TV show or video on YouTube, or if they have a preferred snack or treat, if that is appropriate for the situation, use that. Jessica and I, we were just talking about a client that she used to work with, and she was doing reflex integration, and she was like, we were on the floor together, we were listening to
watching Imagine Dragon music videos during the exercises.
On repeat. And I literally remember being in the clinic like, oh, okay, Jess is was doing her reflex integration with
You
this
could always
client.
knew when he was there.
And you know, the exercises weren't perfect, but Jess was always on the floor with this client, doing the activities, helping to motivate him to participate. And that's honestly what it takes is, you know, making it fun, making it engaging for them, and just try to get their buy-in as much as possible.
Thanks for talking me up, by the way.
You're
Appreciate
welcome.
that. This is really huge because these exercises are hard. Your child might not want to do them because of the difficulty level. So you do have to figure out what's motivating to them. How can you make the exercises more fun and engaging? Oftentimes it's you doing it with them. Oftentimes it's music, TV. You know, find what works, what's fun and motivating for your child.
Just note that we are not advocating for you to make this not an enjoyable experience for either your kiddos, your clients. Like, this should not be something that they're like, no, you know, or completely
Really
refuse.
fighting, yeah.
We shouldn't be grumpy when we're doing it. We should, number one, be focusing on building that connection when we're doing these activities. I've had people reach out and say, like, you know, we're doing this activity and they're grumpy, they're upset, like they're getting frustrated. I'm like, whoa, that is not the goal here. We need to take a step back. We need to get down on their level and build that connection, because these reflexes aren't going to integrate if the child is consistently in a state of fight or flight when they're going through the activities. So calm, organized, fun, engaging.
Yep.
Easier said than done.
Sure, but you can do it.
Got this.
The fourth tip is to significantly modify the exercises. Some of the exercises for primitive reflex integration are complex and they're difficult and they require coordinating both sides of the body together. And because those reflexes are stuck in the body, it makes it even more difficult than if the child was doing it and the reflexes are integrated. So if you need to modify the exercises to make them easier, to make them more simple, if the recommendation is to do the exercise for 10 seconds or 10 repetitions, but the child can only do 3, great. That is your starting place. Start there. You know, go back to our tip right before this of keeping it fun and enjoyable. Make sure you're not pushing the child so far that it's becoming a negative experience. Keep it short, keep it simple, modify the exercises as needed, and build up as you go along.
Okay, the last tip we're going to share with you today is, instead of doing those rote, challenging exercises like the lizard crawl or the starfish, focus on the functional activities. And we share these in our course. We'll link that course in the description, but the course has a ton of functional play-based activities that you don't necessarily know that you're working on reflex integration, but you still are. Things like rolling on the scooter board and pulling yourself on the scooter board, or throwing a ball back and forth in specific positions, just crawling backwards, army crawling through tunnels. So really focusing on play-based activities rather than the rote, boring, specific exercises that we know work, but maybe the child just isn't quite at that level yet, like Jessica was saying. And maybe they'll never get to that level, and that's okay. Maybe we'll have to continue reflex integration day in and day out, just like we drink our coffee.
As like a maintenance plan.
As like a workout. You know, every day we get up, we do our workout, we do our yoga, we're gonna do our reflex integration activities. They may never fully integrate, and that's okay, but we're still gonna go through those exercises on a daily basis if possible.
Yes. Hopefully that was helpful. Hopefully you got some new ideas to try. Make sure that when you're implementing a primitive reflex integration program, you're consistent, you're making it fun, and we're really looking for those functional implications. How is this impacting the child's ability to get through their day? Is it helping them with coordination, with brushing their teeth, those like daily life activities? If you are a parent and you're concerned about primitive reflexes with your child, talk to your pediatrician and get an occupational therapy evaluation, and try to work with a professional who's trained in primitive reflex integration.
Yep. Don't forget to follow us along on social media. We love to share videos and activity ideas over there at All Things Sensory Podcast, as well as at Harkla_family.
And then make sure you are subscribed to our Harkla YouTube channel, like this video, and send it to a friend.
With that, we'll plan on seeing you next week.
Okay, bye.
Children who have cognitive and motor delays.
delays. Nope, I want to redo it. Sorry.
I have meat stick in my teeth.